It reminds me of the goat. You know, you scare the goat, it just falls over.
Those videos crack me up every time.
It's like when you mention anything in a healthcare environment, people are like, oh, HIPAA, fall over. Everything is blamed on HIPAA.
Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right. Protect your patients. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right.
All right, Donna. So you know how most businesses want people to leave them reviews and, you know, go to Google or whatever, Facebook, leave the reviews, all that good stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay. There's another step above that where it's like create testimonials and success stories and all those things. I'm sure you've probably had marketing people tell you to do that, right?
Oh, yes.
Well,
and who wants to sign up for that?
I know. We have people do that where they're like, we'll give you a $50 gift card if you'll do a testimonial, you know, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But turns out that if you do this for patients and you create these success stories, that you probably need to have some type of signed document that you got their permission to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that it's, you know, please review us so that the patient's making that decision, not me. Mm-hmm. But if I am publishing information about a client, then I have to get their okay because I'm doing it.
Yep. That's
and
right.
For some reason, some people forget about that.
Yeah. So in this episode, we're going to talk about a cautionary tale about a success story failure.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah. So this just dropped the other day, and is it Cadia Health? Cadia Health?
Yeah, Cadia, I would think.
Yeah, so
Delaware.
Yeah, so Cadia Healthcare, they just entered into a resolution agreement with OCR, and it's because they had, I think it was 5 locations, you know, in Delaware, but the resolution signed back in April was because of just that. They had success stories of, looks like it was around 150 patients.
Yeah.
Which good job getting success stories from 150 patients. But apparently somebody did not like the fact that they had their success story because that's how they got notified.
Yeah, it got published about them, and they're probably somebody that's watching for information about themselves because that's what you should do.
Yeah.
You know, but they put the picture, their name, and the details about their treatment and recovery. Because they do like rehab as well as skilled nursing long-term care. So I'm sure it was rehab stuff. But the fact, first of all, you don't want OCR to call you about a problem that you don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
At least when you've reported a data breach of 500 or more, then you know they're coming, right? You're just waiting on it.
Yeah.
But if you get that call that says, we've received a complaint, well, actually, you get the email / letter. They received a complaint. And this goes back to September 2021.
Oh, yeah. And let's bring it up, you know, point it out, highlight it here. 150, because I always have to say, just because it's not 500 or more, doesn't mean OCR won't step in and do something, because we've had that discussion in forums.
Yeah. Many times. Oh, you don't have to, we don't ever have, yeah, okay. Well, here's what happened in this case, though. They get a complaint, and it's one of those, unfortunately for them, OCR just had to go to the website and look.
Yeah. Thanks for making it easy.
The patient says, they got all of my information out there, including my picture, my name, everything about, you know, treatment, recovery, you know, actual PHI. They got all that information out there, and I didn't give them the okay to do that.
Ooh.
Yeah. So OCR goes and looks and says, hey, what the what? And so that has them go look for it. And they contacted them that by February 2022, they had 150 individuals with success stories on the website and social media where apparently they had not gotten approvals.
Ooh.
Yeah. So OCR calls them up and says, hey, blah, blah, blah. You should really reevaluate your website and social media posts because you haven't had it. Now, they were like, holy moly, freaked out, and went and deleted them all. Post haste.
That's good.
Good for them. They ended it. They got notified February 22nd, 2022 by OCR after they had looked into it and really confirmed everything. March 2nd, they are like, we are no longer doing our success story program. It is canceled in its entirety. But here's what happened after that. Nothing.
I thought you was going to come up with something just super unique.
Well, what you're supposed to do is you've now violated the privacy rule for 150 people. It still requires actually going through the breach notification process.
Right.
They didn't do that.
So maybe they were of the mindset that it's not above, 500 or more, so we don't have to do anything.
Who knows? Because I have
Right.
so many questions about
I
this.
know. Yeah. Do you know if it was like, do they have their own internal marketing, or was this a marketing firm that was helping with this, or do we know anything
Unknown.
about that?
No. They don't give us stuff. I mean, I could maybe go dig and see if it made the news, but I don't think it did because they just kind of made it go away. And OCR, somebody went back and went, hey, we never got notification that they notified all the patients.
Oh boy.
And what happened? So they then go back to them and tell them, you didn't do this. You didn't actually go make your notifications like you're supposed to. And that's when OCR said, okay, this is not just a marketing mistake. If you didn't do what you were supposed to do after that, it's a systemic failure.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not just bleh. And in OCR's announcement, they even went so far, and I'm not sure about this, just I thought it was odd, where it said that Cadia violated the HIPAA privacy and breach notification rules and failed to implement appropriate administrative, technical, and physical safeguards. Well, usually you only see that in the security rule, but they used it in their press release. That's what they said. It's, I'm not sure if it's whoever wrote the memo, not really a HIPAA person, because these are generally attorneys, and if they haven't really gotten, I know everybody thinks that it's a law, so HIPAA's easy, but it's not. So I'm not really sure about that. But then, the fact that they didn't notify anybody, now they're having to notify. And the reason I know it's now is because if you go to their website, they have out on their website, the notice of success story incident is on their website right now. And it hadn't been there since 2022, 2023.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Unless they're marketing it.
They're using it as a marketing ploy.
Yeah, like no publicity is bad publicity.
Yeah, that's it. And so in their, OCR's settlement, it doesn't say much. It says, we got a complaint, we went and looked, sure enough, and we let them know, and then they didn't notify everybody. But what I found interesting, so here you've got a scenario where all of this is happening and 150 people could be impacted. They don't notify anybody. So you can't just say, my bad. It's actually showing your program may not be up to snuff. And then when you look at their notice of success story incident on the website, you really start to see that, because I do like this, pursuant to our policies and procedures.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we know that you could just simply have policies and procedures that are templates that no one actually reads or does anything with. We know that. So that's not, but yes, legally you want to be able to say that. The KD employees were required to obtain a written consent. So somebody got thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
That they were required to, obtain the written consent before posting the story. And then they learned one or more of these success stories may have been posted without a valid consent.
One or more.
Now, it doesn't say we learned about it because the regulators called us. We promptly launched an investigation and removed all success stories from our social media on March 2nd. So they did, what we say. We all freak out together. We immediately handle it. We're all focused and dealing with the problem. So they did it fairly quickly. But then, as part of our investigation, we reviewed our records to identify any patients without a valid consent form. But because we deleted all the success stories in 2022, we were unable to definitively determine all individuals who participated in the success story program. And accordingly, out of abundance of caution, we're notifying individuals who may have participated, but we couldn't find a consent form.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it could have been more than 150.
Well, no, OCR tracked down the 150 people were on there.
Okay, good.
Okay, so OCR said there's 150 people in these success stories. We don't know if they've gotten, we know for this one that the patient says we didn't. So they go look, and sure enough, they don't have it. Everybody's looking for it. Who knows what the scenario is, because we don't know. So they so quickly deleted it, but didn't say, hey, we're going to need to notify.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you would have done.
Right.
And I'm not sure why the Wayback Machine didn't have it.
Yeah. Or did they use that? Or does it say? They may not know.
No,
Most
it says
people
they don't know who was on there.
Right.
They
but I'm
don't
talking
know.
about the Wayback Machine. A lot of folks don't know about that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying they probably could have, but that's me and you. They didn't hire somebody to help them, or they wouldn't be in this position, more than likely. But so first they didn't know they were out there. Then they did know they were out there and quickly panicked and deleted them without documenting anything. Because if they had documented anything, they wouldn't have this second paragraph that says, we deleted them all and we didn't know. In 2022, we deleted them all. We didn't notify you then, and we don't have the records now.
Yeah. Not great documentation for sure.
So I have no consent forms. I have the patient complaint. I have the incomplete investigation because it's not documented what they found, and deleted all the information. So no documentation, no notification. So it's clear that it's the program that's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what OCR is really saying. But of course, they end with, we want to assure you we've taken this matter very seriously. We apologize for any inconvenience and since enhanced our privacy policies and procedures, as well as increased awareness of the policies and procedures through additional policy training to help prevent something from this happening again. This is why when we ask about training, everybody's like, yeah, we got our HIPAA training. Okay, what'd you do? We did excellent HIPAA training.info. And everybody's got their stuff. Okay, but what about your policies and procedures? Huh? No, your policies and procedures, we have them, but did you do training on them? Huh?
We sent them around. Everybody signed a paper, said they had them and read
that's
them.
all we're supposed to do. Isn't that it? Okay, so do some quizzes, and that's what we do with our clients. We put a course in their LMS that has them read the policies and procedures, but then go through some quizzes about what they actually mean and what the staff's supposed to do. So it helps, you're documenting your training on your policies and procedures. So, I don't know where the gap is in here, but, it's across the board. It's not something I'm going to say is uncommon. You and I both know we've seen a lot of that. The resolution amount, though, $182,000 with a 2-year cap, corrective action plan. And then we got the new director, Paula Stannard's statement. Now, I want you to read it, and I want you to tell me what you notice about in the statement.
Okay. So she says the internet and social media are important business development tools, but before disclosing PHI through social media or public-facing websites, covered entities and business associates should ensure that HIPAA privacy rule permits the disclosure. Generally, a valid written HIPAA authorization form from an individual is necessary before a covered entity or business associate can post the individual's PHI on a website testimonial or through a social media campaign.
What did you notice?
Well, the business associate thing jumped out, but I don't know that necessarily means anything because it does apply to both. I don't know. What did you notice?
The word should.
Ah.
Okay. One of the things that we go through in our policies and procedures, and everybody likes to write them this is what we should do.
Yeah.
No, this is what we must do.
Right.
And normally I'm used to seeing them say they must ensure that the HIPAA privacy rule permits it. Not, oh, you should. Well, you know what? I should follow the speed limit all the time.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. We're not going to say one way or another about any of us in the speed limit.
Yeah. Huh.
But it's a very different statement of should versus must. And then generally a valid authorization is necessary. Generally.
That's like typically you would.
Yeah. So when wouldn't I need a valid authorization to post patient information on a website testimonial or a social media campaign? I can't think of any time where there doesn't need to be some authorization from the patient for any covered entity or business associate to use that information, publicly.
So are you suggesting this statement was generated by AI?
Possibly. I am not sure. I just noticed it. And how, to me, whenever it comes from the lawyers, every word matters.
Yeah. And I imagine anything she says probably gets filtered through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know anything other than that would not pass muster for us to make that statement in our training. Our training would say must ensure, and then the word generally would be left out. A valid written HIPAA authorization from an individual is necessary. We wouldn't use the word generally. That'd be gone.
Yeah.
So it jumped out at me because, again, when it comes from the lawyers, I pay attention. Every single word.
It does make you go,
Things that make you go, So then you look at, what we've talked, how did this even happen? Right? Because if there's a privacy officer who knew better, did they get ignored? Or is no one properly trained to know this was a problem in the first place? Or did they even know they should be asking? Because if you had a well-trained privacy officer that had real authority and was running a program, there's no way this should happen.
Right, because it's multiple failures. I mean, it's not just the social media program. It's they didn't notify. They didn't know what to do. The policies and procedures were an issue. So you've got all these things happening.
Yeah. There's, training concerns and audit concerns, because this had to have gone on for 150 of them. It doesn't say how long they've been out there, but you've got to assume it's been out there a while to get 150.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably didn't dump all 150 at the same time.
Right. So, a year or more is probably how long some of them have been out there, maybe longer. And so you're looking at all of that. And then when the investigation comes into play, it's not fully documented properly, or we wouldn't have the message about, well, we don't know. So I don't know. It's to me saying that, how often we get the privacy officers, the one who missed the meeting, or you're in charge now.
Yeah. Or even worse, it's the owner of the practice. They're the privacy officer. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
You're not, I mean, you can be if there's only two of you. I got that. But if it's a decent sized organization, and there's no way this is 5 locations, there's just so many questions about how this could happen. And again, I'm not saying they're the anomaly. There's a reason that it's either the privacy officer wasn't trained, the privacy officer had no authority, or they were basically flying unprotected. There was somebody there in name only.
Yeah.
Which is a combination of a lot of things. But again, we don't know. But there's a reason that OCR goes out of their way to say leadership has to be held accountable. And they've said it over and over and over again in resolution agreements and guidance and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one of the things that's in all of the corrective action plans, and we've touched on it before, but this is a good point of bringing it up again, that there's all these reports that you have to do. And, the corrective action plan gives you, okay, you got to do your policies and procedures, or you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do training, blah, 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 right?
Or at least you should.
Well, it's in there. It says that's what you're going to do. Anyway, so, and you have to send all of that stuff into OCR to get approval, all these things. So after it's approved, you got 120 days to send in your implementation report, which brings up again the point that, everybody's like, I don't have time to do this. Well, guess what? You get put on a corrective action plan, you really ain't going to have time to do it.
Yeah.
Because you have to do, within 60 days, you got to do this. Within 30 days, you got to do this. Within 120 days, so it's, you don't get to set the time frame anymore. And they're like, oh, it's not going to happen to me. Yeah. But when you do these reports, so you got the implementation report, and then you have to have an annual report for every year you're doing it. So at the end of the first year, you have to do a report. Into the second year, you got to do a report, right? Mm-hmm. So the implementation report, so in a 2-year cap, you've got 3 reports you have to send in. But it's not just, hey, we did our job. Thumbs up, a big smiley face with a thumbs up.
Yeah. No more success stories. We're good.
No, requires that you provide documentation of things that you're doing, but you also have to have attestation from a company officer.
Ooh.
So they have to sign off that says, I have confirmed that we have done this. I am accountable for making sure that it's been distributed to all of our employees, that the training materials are correct, and we've done all these things. So in the implementation report, it has all the training materials and documentation because they've already seen the policies and procedures and all the things. OCR has already seen those. They want to see your training proof. What did you cover? Have you done it? What's the schedule? When was it done? You send all that in, and then you say, okay, here is our attestation that we have implemented all the policies and procedures. Here is our attestation. And again, company officer has to do this. We're not talking about throw somebody under the bus, make them sign it. It must be an officer of the company. Has to provide an attestation that the entire workforce has completed the initial training that was required and has signed training certifications. Then they have to attest that they confirm that they personally have reviewed the information so that all websites, affiliated web domains, social media accounts, marketing or promotional materials, including photos and videos and all that kind of crap, that there is no PHI leaking out anymore. It's a leak. It's a leak. We have a leak. So they have to, and then they have to sign an attestation that says every location of our 5, we've done that in. And then you have to have a senior officer sign a statement that says they've reviewed everything in the implementation report that we just went through and made reasonable inquiries and believe that the information is accurate and truthful. It's forcing accountability.
Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I know, right? But I don't know about you. I mean, I take it very, very seriously when I have to put my name on something that says I have personally done this.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I'm always wondering, when is the shoe going to drop where they do start holding leadership accountable more than they're currently doing?
That ain't going to happen. We got a long way to go before anybody's going to do that. There's so many areas where nobody's accountable for anything.
Yeah.
So unless you're the person that got thrown under the bus for not.
But they're not necessarily being held accountable, from like an OCR standpoint, but we are seeing some of these lawsuits that are holding folks accountable outside of that.
Yeah, but who's getting the money?
Oh, I don't know.
The lawyers. Yeah, the lawyers. I mean, you look at it and you got all these people that are involved in a data breach, and all the people get $30 by the time it's said and done. Millions and millions of dollars in the settlement. All the people get $30 if they're lucky, 25, something like that. And
get a
we know
cheeseburger.
If you're lucky. But just to make sure we cover it, they have the implementation report, and then they have the annual report. Has to be done within 60 days of the end of the reporting period, which is based on the clock starting on the cap. So it's not like, I know I got to do it by the end of February. You got to keep up with what that date is. When did the clock start? I would recommend that you do it within 45 days.
Yeah.
Don't wait to the end. But you do the same thing. I got to show that I've got a schedule outline. I've done updated training during this annual reporting period. I got to have an officer sign off on that. And then you have reportable events, which is when anybody violates any policy, you have to document that and show that you are enforcing your policies and procedures. This was the violation, here's the details, and this is the corrective action or preventative actions that were taken.
Yeah. I recall having a conversation with OCR investigator one time, and we were talking about reportable events. And she said, if we've got an investigation we're doing and the covered entity or business associate has no reportable events at all, ever, that's a red flag.
Yeah. Nothing. Never had a single problem, But by the time you do that on your annual report, and again, the leader, a senior officer has to attest that they've done the annual report and reasonable inquiry regarding its content, and that believe upon such inquiry, the information is accurate and truthful. Yeah. So it is pushing that leadership is accountable. Now, who knows what the scenario was here, but we know how many times we've encountered it. Particularly, we've encountered it. I'm not going to be more specific. Many times where everybody seems to think they can wing it. That the privacy rule is not that complicated. You do the NPP. You know how many pages are in the? There are only HIPAA's huge. HIPAA and ITAC huge. There are 8 pages in the security rule.
Right.
And by the time you go through all the different scenarios that could happen in the privacy rule, that it's huge. And so to think that you can just, we don't have to worry about it. We don't have those things. Yeah, they're going to come up like this. And if we don't teach people that you don't share anything with anybody without making sure it's okay, that's where, the trouble comes in. Because how many times do we get to say, it depends?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we talk about this a lot too, is you have the other end of the spectrum where, I go in and I say, can I get a copy of my records? We can't give you that. That's a HIPAA violation. What?
But again, those people aren't trained properly.
I know, but it's the whole, some people just give away too much and some people don't even give away what they're supposed to.
I know. You're right. It's like too much, too little, we don't know.
Yeah. It reminds me of the goat. You scare the goat, it just falls over.
Those videos crack me up every time.
It's like when you mention anything in a healthcare environment, people are like, oh, HIPAA, fall over. Everything gets blamed on HIPAA.
I know when I go to get personal health care, and people, at some point, oh, well, what do you do? You're not going to like what I do.
I'm a HIPAA assassin.
I'm a HIPAA consultant. Ew.
Yeah, see if we can get her in and out of here pretty quickly.
Yeah. Dang, y'all don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, it matters whether you have 2 P's or 1 in your title.
Anyhow, you got to love it. Whenever you find things, we found one in one of our old documents where, for us to miss it, it's a typo because we're too particular. But it was in there somewhere, and we were like, "Oh my God, you should have heard all of us. How did we? We're going nuts." Everybody else would be like, "What? What is? Oh, just fix it."
Yeah.
No, this is horrible.
Yeah, I'm always afraid I'll do that.
I think people do it sometimes just to taunt me. And
yeah.
then
they absolutely do, because we get emails from them.
Then they say, "Don't give me that much credit." Oh, jeez. So,
but the bad thing is when you spell it right and then spell check changes it. That's what's bad.
That's when you really have to redo your spell check. Yeah. You got spell check has to get taken to training. But needless to say, we have had many times conversations with people who are like, well, I've tried to tell them and nobody listens to me. Mm-hmm. There's a reason we have a ton of conversations of how do I get leadership to pay attention? How do I get them to believe me? How do I get them to even let me give them a report? And that's why we do our executive training that is very specific, geared for them, not basic HIPAA training. Yes, it's there, the basic stuff, but it's designed to get leadership to understand what needs to be done here. You can't just let that go on autopilot.
Right.
So that's all I have to offer.
Yeah.
Based on where we are. But At any rate, hopefully everything, will pick up and they'll get right the ship on all of that and, get the right people in place or right training. I mean, definitely right training. They need the training. That's obvious.
Yeah.
In so many ways. Yeah.
And I know a good place to get it.
That's right. We got that covered. Yeah.
Yep. So, well, I guess if you're from Cadia or know anybody from Cadia, send them this episode and have them reach out. We can hook a brother up.
Not if they get mad at us. Let's don't have them reach out.
They won't be mad at us. Oh, man. So, but it does give you something to think about for sure. If you're doing anything on social media, email marketing, it doesn't even have to be on social media, even email marketing. Like, look, I probably shouldn't say most because I don't know, but a lot of marketing firms, even healthcare marketing firms, are not looking at privacy and security. Right. They're looking at marketing. And there are things that you can and cannot do when you have a marketing firm involved, or at least you have to jump through hoops to get it done because they could become a business associate, which means you got to go down that path with them. So it's not just, hey, let's hire a marketing firm and let's do the same things that every other business is doing because you are dealing with protected health information.
Well, yeah, and you need to vet. And the minute they tell you, don't worry, we've got that covered.
Worry.
Anybody says don't worry, worry. I worry about anybody that tells me not to worry. When they say, don't worry, we're HIPAA compliant. Don't worry, we've got this covered. You don't have to worry about anything with us. I am immediately higher, what is it? I'm on alert. Jeez, I'm done.
Yeah. I had something happen. It's been a couple years ago now, but it was a marketing company, and a client had hired them, and we kind of had this conversation. And they said, "Well, they're doing videos for all these other practices, and they're showing like the patients and things like that. So I don't see where this is a problem. Like, why are they doing these other things?" And so I was like, "Well, they probably have the patient's consent, I guess, but what can you show me what they're doing?" So they pulled it up, and come to find out, it was all like cash-based businesses, like med spas and things like that. And I said, well, here's your problem right here. You're comparing yourself, which falls under HIPAA, to these folks who don't fall under HIPAA, because just because they're a patient doesn't mean their information is protected the same way. So they can do that. You can't. And they're like, that makes no sense. And like, just telling you.
But remember, when HIPAA was first written, they didn't exist.
Right.
Nobody did that.
So that's the problem. That's why you can't look at it and say, well, they're a patient having a procedure and they can do all these other things around marketing, and so I can do it. No, not necessarily. Not the same way. No. So got to ask a lot of questions. It's tricky.
Yeah. It depends.
It does depend. It is a fact-specific determination. All right, folks, that is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to share this out to anyone you know that needs help with marketing. We can help them understand what to look out for. And so remember, for Donna and myself, that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.